Bolovinaka, namaste and good evening. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm your host Vijay Narayan, and quite an exciting week this week. A lot of sports happening. We've got the Coca-Cola Games, the big one, starting tomorrow morning with a lot of action at the HFC Bank Stadium. Don't go anywhere else. We'll have all the updates, the medal tally, the latest results, interviews, how it all plays out on the 3 days of competition. And just on the first day, the last event confirmed that will be run will be the 100 meters finals. So quite an exciting day on day one, and day two continuing with the action, and day three with the events finishing at about 2:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. And then we'll have Inside Out coming out to perform. First time ever entertainment at the games while you still wait for the final announcements to be made. So quite an exciting few days coming up. We also have the Shipping Fijian Drua men taking on the Brumbies in Canberra, a crucial game at 9:35 p.m. Saturday. And on top of that, we've got the Singapore Sevens starting from Friday night into Sunday as Osea Kolinisau and Sayasi Fulis, men and women, try to make amends and continue to stay focused on the task ahead as we build up to the Olympic Games in Paris. Quite a lot going on, and quite timely to have our guest for tonight, who is Litiana Waqanitoga-Miller. Litiana, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Vinaka for having me, Vijay.
Now, Litiana is a name well known as a fitness instructor. Some of you may know her well as maybe the Zumba Queen of Fiji. Some may know Litiana as the athlete who came through a lot of struggles and has a great story to tell. So we thought of coming forward and sharing that story with Litiana today, which is a great story, and she's agreed to come forward and talk to us about it. First of all, when did you start taking part in athletics?
Naka Vijay, good evening to everyone that is tuning in this afternoon. So to answer that question, Vijay, I started in primary school with athletics. I started in class 3, and that was when I was in Suva Methodist Primary School.
Now, the biggest motivation at that time, you in class 3 and going to Suva Methodist, what made you choose athletics?
So in primary school, like especially in Suva Methodist, they were big on athletics sport, and we had our physical education Master Nawamea, Tevita Nawamea. He was recruiting athletes to take part, just encouraging. I didn't really have any motivation, but I was just following requests from the PE teacher that you need to round out some people to go and run the 50 meters and all that. So I thought, okay, I'll go and try it out. And I think that was when I discovered, or the first competition, right from the first competition, that I had a special, gift in running, because they put me on the track, and the moment that I started running, I just felt like I had this massive energy that I just, that I could just go out there and let off steam on the track. And that first competition got me first place, and that was the beginning of everything.
And that was the Twisties Games?
So this was the inter-house in back in school, and from there we went on to the zones, and finally the Twisties Games.
So where were these competitions held? The school zone was held?
The inter-house was held in primary school back at our primary school ground, and then from there they chose athletes to go up to the zones, and the zones was held in the stadium, and from there we sort of progressed to the Twisties Games.
So when you went to the stadium to run on the actual tracks, the synthetic tracks for the first time,
Yeah.
how was it?
Oh, it was a good feeling. I mean, like, first of all, it was, I was nervous. I mean, I must say that I got the chance to run in those white tracks, you know, before what color is this, the current track? It's sort of orangish. But before then, we had a white track at the stadium. And so that was like, you know, the smell of the track, just being there. You have mixed feelings, like sometimes you feel nervous, sometimes you feel excited. So the first time that I went was when I had to go and train with the, because during the zones you represent your school, and then after the zone you represent your zone. So you become zone 1 or zone 2. Nowadays, I don't think they do that. They only represent schools. But back in those days, for primary school, we were representing our different zones. And that's when I started training. That's when I started entering the stadium to train on the track.
I've gone through the history of your long list of medals, and congratulations in everything that you've achieved as a woman who can inspire many, empower many, and to ensure that we continue to strive for greatness. It is a great story with Litiana being selected, as she calls it, the baby of the team, back in 1993 at the age of 15, going to a regional competition and winning her first gold medal. Now that's amazing.
It was indeed, yeah.
Let's talk about secondary school competition, because you, at 15, you were telling me that after primary school you took a bit of a break, but then you decided to go into maybe at the intermediate level of competition when you were at Dudley High School.
Yes. So after my primary school games, going into secondary school, you feel like you're Miss Senior from primary school. So you kind of played up a little. I kind of took 1 or 2 years off the sport. So I want to say I was concentrating in school, but not really, just growing up and experiencing new things, friendship and all that. So I got distracted for about 2 years, so I thought, okay, that was it. My glory days was only in primary school. I'm done with athletics. I'll just carry on, continue with studying in school. And then it was not until like the second year in high school, I think, the late Marioni Vimbose, she's a champ javelin thrower, represented Fiji so many times. And she approached me because she was my PE teacher at that time, and she thought, hey, you used to run for the primary school, why don't you trial out for the secondary school games? And so that's when I didn't have any choice. She really dragged me into it. So I thought, okay, I'll try it out. She showed, and the thing that really motivated me was when she started showing me her medals. I got the chance to really get to know her more and know about her in sports. And so I would walk to her house and see all her medals on the wall, and it was really inspiring for me. And that's when I decided, okay, I'll try and train some more so that I can win medals and not only certificates in primary school. That's when my career started in secondary school.
So you started with the Dudley Interhouse.
Dudley Interhouse. I don't, it just shows my ear, but I don't really remember clearly how I went through all those competitions. But all I know is after the Interhouse and after the zone, I found myself in my first competition ever in the Coke Games. And I thought, Twisties Games was already big, competing at that level in primary school. But coming into the Coca-Cola Games was a totally different story. The pressure was on, the atmosphere was huge, the spectators was more. So I was like, what the hell am I doing here, And the giant schools were there, you just hear all these names, coming from Dudley High School, representing the school, going in and meeting up with, the likes of ACS and Grammar and, all these other schools, Lomeri at that time. It was nerve-wracking, but, it kind of like is a sweetness, sort of a sweet victory when you know that you are just as good as these other schools, even though you're coming from a small school like Dudley High School.
Yeah, well, it's seen as that is always an interesting issue. Sometimes the schools overshadow the actual individual athlete's performance. Right. And that's why we concentrate on each athlete who go in there and win. It's a win for them.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be cherished. And thanks for sharing that. Because when you enter into the stadium, and if your school is not a powerhouse school and may not have all the luxury that it has, you sort of can get lost in the noise in the crowd.
Yeah, so true. And then when you're competing with, even from the beginning where you have to go into the call room and you're sitting down with all these athletes. Some of the athletes, they have, the top of the line track shoes, and then you were walking in with your borrowed track shoes or something like that, and jackets, all the whole works. It's intimidating at first. But when you get onto the track, like I mentioned to you, like you put me on the track and I run and I feel like I just have this huge energy that I can exert on the track, and that's how I sort of nailed every competition that I go into, because you must understand, I was like the tiniest, athlete out of all these giant girls that were like towering over me. So for me to be driven in that way, I think it's only because of the mental toughness. I wasn't aware of it, but I think I had a good support system and just basically mental toughness.
We'll talk about the Coke Games a bit more, but after your first Coke Games, based on our discussion, you ended up with a medal, with a silver medal, most likely in one of the sprints, 100 meters. And then straight after that, you were chosen to be part of Team Fiji?
Yes, straight from after I won my first competition in the Cokes was, I won a silver medal in the 100. Running against Venina Taka of ACS. So that was awesome. It was nice to rub shoulders with people that were already known in the field. But then it just gave me that drive to continue to excel in this event, especially the 100 meters. So like when I ran the 100 meters back then, it was like 13 seconds. And these girls were running 12 fives, 12 sevens. And then I turned around to my coach and I said, do you think I can make that time? And she said, yes, of course you can. My thing is because my driving force was because people believed in me, people that were, developing me, they had that belief that I could do things, They've seen me compete. But I had doubts on myself. But it was always good to ask that question and you get that nudge from everyone, yeah?
So I've got your records here. So in 1993, you went to the Pacific Mini Games and you managed to get a bronze there with a time of 12.94 seconds.
Right.
And then in the same Mini Games, you won a gold medal for the 4x100 meters event.
Yes. That was amazing. Going into the...
At the age of 15.
Yes, going into the games, being the baby of the team, it was fun because, you hear about the big names in the sport. We had Vadi Savatavanga and Rachel Rogers and Rosie Tamani. They were all training in Australia and I only hear about them. that was the first time I ever met them. And that was another level of motivation for me, you know, to be running alongside these giant women, you know, the giant names in athletics. I went into the 93 games with not too much of an expectation of myself. It was just enough that I was present at the game, or I was chosen to be at the games. It was like winning a global award when you're told you are in the games, you know. And then to rub shoulders with these girls, they were very good. They were motivating me, you know, along. We had PNG and New Caledonia, who were the big names during that game. But somehow I managed to sneak in a bronze medal alongside Vadiseva and Rachel in both the 100 and possibly the 200, I think. But the 4x1, we were a team in, you know, that we were basically the winning team.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Oh my gosh! Oh, what's in the box?
You're probably wondering, what's in the box? Well, if you must know, it's actually me. Wait. Before you call the police, I'm actually an app. The all-new Fiji Village app. Here's an update. See what I did there? I gave you an update. What's new? Well, for starters, I look different. My new layout also comes with stories, if you're looking for something short and sweet. I will bring you the latest news on the dot so you stay updated. You're welcome. You don't have to go anywhere for content because I bring the content to you. Not only can you listen to your favorite radio station, you can now watch online video content. Which reminds me, are you looking forward to the Coke Games? Well, guess what? I can give you live tallies and stream Fiji Village Relive so you can keep updated no matter where you are. Your #1 news website just got better with an app. Download and get updated now.
You know, like, when she told me you'll be right, I might call her for the night. Oh no, no Chris, BVS, oh yes. Let's taste, sing song.
Wait, where am I?
Oh, you died, bro.
I'm dead? But why?
Worry, that's what happens when you change your playlist when you're driving?
Crashed.
What? No, this can't be happening. I had so much left to do in life. All I do is stare at my phone because, you know, I'm Gen Z and we're all antisocial.
Aw.
And I wish I did so
Poor guy.
much. But by the way, do you guys have Wi-Fi up here?
This is why you should have listened to F96 Drive. Shouldn't let them play the music.
And you just drive.
No! I can't believe this is happening. It wasn't
When you're
even
done,
my
eh?
car and I didn't have
Hell is
car
that way,
insurance.
eh? Eh?
Wait, what?
Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, former Team Fiji sprinter and current fitness instructor, Litiana Waqanitoga-Miller. And Litiana is sharing with us about her journey, wonderful journey, but as I said, challenges do come when you want to become a star athlete, a lot of pressure. And let's talk about pressure. After at 15, taking part in the first Coke Games, winning a medal, and then going to the Pacific Mini Games, winning a gold medal and a bronze, and then continuing on the journey, coming back, and of course that you've got the following year, expectations are now rising. Litiana is now coming into the games from Dudley High School, has won a gold in the 4x100 meters. How did it go from 94 onwards for you?
Thank you, Vijay. So going back into the games, from the South Pacific Games, I started making a name for myself. And so on the following year, in 94, of course, you walk into the Coke Games a big star, right? So the expectation is even more, and the pressure is more. You have distractions as well, and attention from the crowd, you know. So one thing about that was driving me in all these years that I've competed was the fact that my dad was so behind. My parents were both so behind my career in athletics, to the point where, you know, at some point in time, it was, you know, they couldn't accept anything other than a win from me. So, mind you, I come from a family that is not so sporting. So, I was kind of like this first person that has made a name in sport. And so, the pressure from my parents was, you know, it's kind of like they were driving me. You gotta win these events, you know. There's nothing in our book that says you have to lose. Because if I lose, I would have to sit down and face like one telling off from my father for like an hour or so. Because, I mean, even the fact that he was, you know, kids are like dogs. They always like to please their master. Whatever their master says, they have to do it. Whether it makes them vulnerable, or whether it puts them in a position where they become sad or anything, their first priority is to please, especially in my case, was my parents. And the fact when my dad is standing there next to the track, you know, watching me, oh my God, I can't lose.
You run even faster.
Yes, I have to try and run faster. The funny thing is, the 100 meters wasn't a problem for him because he knows that I always win the 100. But when it comes to the 200, I have to be very like extra, you know. So competing, because 200 that's the reason why I hated 200, is because I always have the pressure from my dad to win the 200 meters. So kind of like in the second year the first year that I went into 200 meters, I had to compete with names like Makele Simbuli Kiombo from Leline Memorial School, Beryl Kinisalote from Suva Grammar. These guys, like Make came in from the 400, I came in as a gold medalist from the 100, and Beryl Kinisalote, this 200 was her, you know, was her race. For the three of us to be there on the track in a huge crowd, that was nerve-wracking. And it was kind of raining a little bit of breeze coming through the backstretch to the home stretch, and I think I managed to just get into the first place because I was the shortest person running, and I was in between these two giant of girls. So luckily, I won the gold for the 200, just tipping them at the tape. That went on to like the second year, and I was going to just forget about the 200 in the second year, but they kept pushing me to run for the 200. The second year, I just, you know, as you develop in becoming a teenager, you know, you've got lots of distractions going on, and you're making a name for yourself. You feel that pressure. So in the second year that we ran together in the 200, I broke stud. Oh my God, I almost peed my pants, to tell you the truth, because I knew that my dad wasn't going to be happy.
He was in the crowd?
He was in the crowd, yes. He was standing beside, you know, at the 200-meter mark. Everybody knows, everyone is just right there next to you. So it's kind of a distraction, but for some people it's okay. But for me, my dad, seeing me at that time, and to break start, that was just like totally out of the picture. So basically, you know, I was so scared to go back home that after I broke start, I kind of ran away from home after that. So we had to seek police intervention to get me back at home, to make sure that my father doesn't beat me up when I get back home. So that's kind of like my career, going into the Coca-Cola Games. I had moments where I was a superstar, and I had moments where I was literally fighting to be, not to be beaten up at home.
That issue about pressure and mental well-being and mental health, you talked about the expectations. Is also another thing for some athletes. Once they break start, that stays in their mind, and they always maybe then are the last ones off the blocks after that race.
Yes.
How did you deal with that after that?
I think with me, the thing that I know that edges me from all the other runners was my start. So I've always had to be the first one to get out, or else my little legs won't carry me to the tape, past the tape, with all these tall people running beside me. I just kind of really practiced my start well after then, so that I'm able to get out just on half an inch or earlier than everybody else. But for the break start that I had in the 200 to come back and haunt me, I didn't really take it in as to be scared to run events, to run my sprint events. I kept pursuing. So it's all about practicing. You come back, you make a mistake, and you come back and you just practice through, and you get the support from your coaches and your co-athletes.
So what happened after that year?
After that year, I think that was the senior year. That was basically my last year in the Coke Games. That's the following year. I was out of school, and ready to have a family.
Yes, you've then gone on in '95. You took part in the Oceania Under-18 Championships, where you won gold in the 100 meters. 1995 Pacific Games in Tahiti.
Yes.
You bagged the 4x100 meters gold again, and that was quite an achievement again to have that back-to-back after coming back with that gold medal would have been quite special for you. Just asking about, as things were going along, the biggest challenges then coming around after the Coca-Cola Games, the pressure and how you're managing that. You talked about distractions, and you talked about your parents, they're still expecting you to win and coming back with a gold medal. What were your biggest challenges that you were facing then?
Just being, because you've made a name for yourself, you become a public figure, and just watching how you carry yourself in front of, in public, and also dealing with your family, because like I said, my family were really stunned, really took advantage of the fact that there was this person that grew up in their family and became a somebody, or made a name for themselves. So navigating through life with that kind of profile behind you, it was both challenging and also rewarding. Because then people you always like it when people walk up to you and notice who you are, they shake your hands and all that. And then that just kind of sets my, sort of the person that I am, moving forward in life, going into adulting and getting married and having children. So for me, it was a learning progress, as I went on to become a mother.
Looking back, what were the hardest things to do as you prepared for these different competitions?
It's juggling being a mother, and also being a wife. Once we were in 2003, we were getting ready for the games. We had some athletes over as well at home who were living with us. So for me, the hardest thing was trying to juggle being a mother and being a wife, and also catering to other athletes while you are trying to work on your own progress as an athlete. That was challenging for me.
What you said is you had a bit of an advantage as you went along in your career. Albert, your husband,
Yes.
Albert Miller, also a former athlete, Team Fiji athlete, and then went on to coach you. That would have been a major motivator for you as well, your husband being your coach as well.
Yeah. So I'm so lucky in that perspective that that my husband was my own coach. He became my coach for the rest of my athletic career. So he knew the toughness of being an athlete. So he's always supporting me in terms of, looking after the kids while I have to train, and helping me prepare food, dinner, because you come back after training and you're so tired. So he helps me out in the kitchen, or even when I had the athletes over at home as well, they would help us out, cater to dinners and stuff like that. I would say that it's a challenge, but then we are lucky because I was lucky because I had my husband to support me.
And the success in representing Fiji continued. I mean, we'll focus on the 2003 games after the break, but you went on and took part in more Oceania championships, in the Melanesian championships. You said you started a family. So when did that happen, and how did that affect your athletics career?
So I think I finished school in 96. And I had my first child in 97. So, like I said, my husband was my coach going from secondary school to the rest of my career. In 97, we decided to have a family, to get married and have a family. And then after I gave birth to my son,
97,
Junior, in
that's
97,
is that Albert Miller
Albert
Jr.?
Was born in 97. After that, thankfully, I have a husband who's got an open mind, because, in the Fijian culture, it's like once you have a baby, you stay home, don't, worry about sport or anything. You're a mother now, look after your child, and then so forth and so on. But I was in that mode. I was like, okay, now I have a child, I can relax now. But no. With my husband, you have to go back to the track and go and compete once again. So in my career, starting from 97, we would have our children in between our competition. That's a power of having a husband who is bloody your coach.
So planned pregnancies. In between major competitions.
Yes, exactly. So our children are all 4 years apart. So I had a boy, my junior, in 97, and then 4 years of competition. I think I was doing South Pacific Games, and then I think that's when I represented Fiji in the 99 Games. I went to Guam.
Yes.
Straight after.
2 years after you had Albert Jr.
Yeah.
And you went on to win gold in the 100 meters there.
Yes.
After
And,
giving birth to
yeah.
Albert just 2 years prior to that.
Yeah, and broke the Pacific Games record in 99.
And with a time of 11.92 seconds.
Yes. So that kind of was like almost like the pinnacle of my career was after, in 99. And then I did the 200 meters, I won silver, and then we did a gold in the 4x1.
4x100. So you had, in 1999, you had those medals confirmed, and then we went on in 2000 and won the Oceania Championships 100 meters as well.
Right, yes. From there, then I think I went on to the World Champs in Seville. I think that was when I also got hurt. My first injury after, during the competition in my athletics career. So I got injured, but I had just a few days before, after I got injured, I had to fly out. So I couldn't do much about it. I had to go to Seville. That was a terrible trip. But then I came back in, after that injury, I think then I had a break, and that's when I had my second child, David. Then after that, we got ready for the 2003 Pacific Games.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Bigger, bolder, and better than ever.
Fiji Showcase 2024, 5th to 13th July at the Vodafone Arena, Suva.
Get ready
To be swept up in a whirlwind of international acts, mouth-watering cuisine, and the best shopping deals of the year.
Oh, the shopping. There's nothing like having everything under one roof.
Fiji Showcase 2024, 5th to 13th July.
Save the date. 9 days of pure delight await. Fiji Showcase 2024, 5th to 13th July at the Vodafone Arena, Suva.
See you there.
Breakfast with Budana Penny and Tifa. Good yanders.
It's 21 past 7 and it's Turned Up Tuesday. Turned up.
Good youngers, let's go. Hey! Hi! We just wanted to take this moment to say a big binakabakaloo
For making us the #1 radio station in Fiji.
Your sport means the world to us.
Thank you for listening in day after day.
I like listening to Breakfast on FM 96. I love all the songs that they play, and FM 96 is one.
We love FM 96. FM 96.
Our number one.
One thing that draws me to FM 96 is that the content is relatable. They do play all the music that I love.
Part of FM 96 is listening to Penny the Penosaurus. And they make fun about my forehead because it shines brighter than the can.
And you have made us a part of your daily routine.
And we couldn't be more grateful.
Because you make what we do worth it.
Thank you for making us #1 in Fiji! Hiya!
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and our guest tonight is former Team Fiji sprinter and fitness instructor Litiana Miller. Litiana, just going back to the 2003 Games, that's the last one, Pacific Games to be held here in Fiji, and what a memorable experience it was for Fijians hosting the Games here in 2003 with a brand new tracks laid out. We had the new arena built, Vodafone Arena. We had the netball center built. We had the aquatic center built. We had the hockey turf, and everything looked great. And we had all the athletes coming to Suva for the big games. Of course, you had finished from the games in 1999 and 2000 onwards, as you said, you went into taking a bit of a break. What was the feeling in making sure you have another hit at being part of Team Fiji?
Yeah, like I've mentioned before, I've had to plan having my children one after another in between my games. So for these South Pacific Games, I was like really determined to be part of the Fiji team in the 2003 Games. I think I had only 3 years, no, maybe two and a half years to train after I had my second child. So David, my second boy, was born in 2000. So I had only 2 years to go to train for the 2003 South Pacific Games. And I tell you, it's nothing. I was determined to be part of the team because there was nothing more pleasing and more satisfying than competing in front of the home crowd. Going into that games, I could say that Fiji team was like geared for glory. Going into the games, it was almost like watching the American women compete in the Olympics, because first, second, third in almost all the events for the Fiji team, and our weekly competitions in building up to that games was just like, it was almost like the South Pacific Games itself, the lineup of athletes that we had at that time. So these were all athletes that came together through high school and going into the adult life of their adult life. So we were like in our maybe our 20s, 30s back then. So yeah, the South Pacific Games was an awesome event, and we all wanted to be at the pinnacle of our competition, of our career during that games.
Remember covering that memorable 4x100 meters. You're part of that team that won the gold and also smashed the record with a run of 44.86 seconds in the 4x100 meters, winning gold with 2 children. Preparation 2 years must have been a memorable one.
Yeah, it was indeed. Your kids are watching, your family, your whole family are down at the tracks watching you. It was sweet victory for us. Yes, I think that all 4 runners from that relay all ran under 12 seconds. That was an awesome run. I think it was probably one of the good runs or the best runs in the Pacific comparing to Australia, New Zealand during that time is what we knew.
And you also then added on with the 2003 Pacific Games, the bronze for 100 meters and a bronze for 200 meters as well.
Yeah.
So taking 3 medals home. Now, going into the games, you said a lot had to be done, but you moved on and didn't give up even after that. I see that you went to the Pacific Mini Games in 2005.
Yeah.
And won gold there again in the 4x100 meters.
Yes. It was just like a domino effect. So you keep going. It's like the only thing that you knew in your life was to run and be a sports person. Everything else in your life was on hold for you to just achieve this. For 20 years straight, from the 15-year-old that I was, all the way up until I had my last child, it was just all about sports for me. There was no other things that I could think of in my life but to represent the country and just to do the things that makes me, that makes my heart sing, and that was running.
2011 was your last Pacific Games, 4x100 meters silver in that, and you said you went in there also to mentor other younger athletes as well.
Yeah, so as the years go on, Fiji, I don't know if it was because of the modernization or, kids were no longer driven to continue in their career path or in their sporting path. Once they hit USB or the tertiary schools, like the interest in sport has died down. So I think the last group of athletes that really made it until the edge, because the sport of athletics, you can't still be running in your 40s. I mean, Trindalai did that.
Trindalai won gold at 40.
But for women especially, I mean, I don't really see, especially Fijian women, getting to as late as in their 40s to be still competing. But yeah, the thing is, there were a lot of kids that the Fiji athletics team were dependent on to carry the name or carry the flag. So there were no other in-betweens, people in senior positions enough to mentor these kids. So I would go down to the competition just to, you know, support Albert and our club, to organize our club for their competitions. And, you know, as an athlete, you get itchy feet every once in a while, and then you go and compete. And so I decided to compete in one of those competitions, and they found that, you know, there were no other bridge to bridge the gap between the senior athletes and the young athletes. So I've had to come in to mentor some of them. So that's how I managed to go to the games in Newcal. Yeah, which was my last game.
That was the last games, and winning a silver there in 2011. Now, many say athletics is a lonely sport. You highlighted that when you walked in as a young 14, 15-year-old girl at the stadium, part of the Dudley High School team, and then eventually winning. Lonely sport, sometimes little support, high expectations. What are your comments on that?
Well, you know, everybody is always expecting this high expectation in any sport. It doesn't matter. And when you are in athletics, you know, everybody knows that it's a sport. It's not like a team sport. You know, you socialize, you have everybody's vibe, and you all bind in for your competition. But with athletics, you just walk onto the track, you run your event, you walk out again. So that's kind of like swimming as well. They do that. Those are individual events. But the good thing about it is when there is glory, you are the one that is in the pinnacle of that glory. And it's totally up to you whether you win or you lose your game. It is a lonely sport, but like I said, you know, when you win, it's like nothing other than like it's almost like a Grammy Award for you.
Now, what type of support you think is needed by athletes?
A lot of there's just a lot. I think, you know, in terms of probably providing like scholarship for kids who are going into university and all that. Fiji athletics, we know they don't have the money to be able to send their athletes into competitions overseas. So the only way that people could support athletics is by, you know, giving a helping hand, like asking Fiji athletics, like, how can we support a child or sponsor, you know, because every athlete is individual. So we would like to get sponsors for individual athletes, and probably like support as they go up into tertiary schools so they can study and also compete.
You also talked about the greatest days of athletics in Fiji, where, you know, in 2003 we saw that, and now we're still struggling to get back in there. The larger discussion, of course, of making sure that government and everyone getting behind to make sure that we get back to how we were before.
I think most of the thing, it's probably also from how the support comes from home as well. Like right now, there's a lot of distractions in all different other sports. It's almost like a competition of athletes. So like when you have a good athlete in the Coca-Cola Games, other sports like rugby, soccer, netball, all these other sports are also in there to look for who could be the next, you know, rugby player or netball player. So for us, it's like we cannot compete with that. But if like the parents know that you have a talent, a special talent for the sport, and the child excels in that sport, you know, that is a big sort of point you know, in developing athletes to become good in the sport that they compete in. Athletics is always known to be like the sort of the foundation of every sport. So if we're able to, the only way that we will be able to have good athletes in the future is to support them with, you know, talk to Fiji Athletics and see what you can do to support these athletes.
A life after athletics, you had to decide when to say, okay, I'm going to hang my track shoes now. How did you prepare for the future after retiring from athletics?
So after retiring in, I don't know, after 2010, I felt like, you know, I've learned so much. There's so much that I have learned in terms of discipline and how to look after myself, how to keep fit and all that. I just felt like it's natural for me to channel that into a fitness business. And so that's exactly what I did. I stopped my career in athletics and I started a fitness business. I did not just start it overnight. You know, fitness was always like aerobics, was something that I would do in my downtimes when I am doing like recovery for training. So to sort of digress from the athletics, monotonous of athletics training, I would do aerobics and all these other things. And it was wonderful to be able to get away from training and do something totally different but still in fitness. And so that's where I developed the interest of, you know, of becoming a fitness instructor. And so, mind you, I don't like being bossed around as well. So I decided, okay, this is good for me because then I can be my own boss. And at the same time, you know, teach people how to stay fit and healthy, nutrition and all of that. And that's kind of how I've transitioned from being an athlete into a fitness instructor.
My final question, and a lot of athletes would be watching this, getting ready for the Coke Games tomorrow. They would be thinking of, I want to be like what Litiana's story is, and it's definitely not an easy road. You're a former athlete, you have children who have taken part in the games and represented Fiji as well. You have a husband who has represented Fiji, has been the coach of Fiji and has been your personal coach. What is your message to the athletes taking part in the games from tomorrow and the upcoming athletes and those who want to get into the sport?
If for athletes out there, I would advise you to go out and have fun and do what you love to do. Throw, if it's throw event, or if it's a sprint event, running event, or a jumping event, continue to excel in the sport. It's a good sport to be in, not only in your career, in your sports career, but also in the future, like life after sports. It teaches you a lot of discipline, great lessons to learn from it. So just be you and continue to enjoy the sport. Go out there and just be engrossed in the atmosphere. It's always electrifying to just be in that Coke Games atmosphere. So I want to just wish everybody, all the athletes and all the schools, good luck in your 3-day event. And good luck to my son as well, Nicholas Miller, who is going to be taking part in the discus event on Thursday.
All the best to all the schools and athletes. And Litiana, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show to talk about your journey. And I'm sure a lot of people greatly appreciate everything that you've done for the country. As you said, Every time you went back on the tracks to represent the country. Thank you for what you've done for Fiji on behalf of the people of Fiji, and may you have all the success in terms of building others who would like to represent Fiji with you and your good husband, Albert. That's the show for tonight. Until next week, have a great evening.